Gwinnett Medical Center is now entering Peachtree Corners. Conveniently located in the heart of this thriving community, our new center offers first-rate primary care and specialty services, including cardiology, gastroenterology, neurology, OBGYN, orthopedics, 3D mammography, and X-ray. Learn more about how GMC is making industry-leading healthcare more convenient than ever at gwinnettmedicalcenter.org/PTC.
Won't be long until literally you could be walking down the street and your phone's talking to the cars driving by, talking to the phones of other pedestrians, right, talking to the buildings, talking to the light pole. I mean, it's both a amazing and sometimes scary environment.
Hey, this is Rico Figliolini, host of Prime Lunchtime with Brian Johnson, the city manager. We do this every month, and we have a great discussion about all things going on here in the city of Peachtree Corners. Before we start, Brian, do you mind? I just want to say how.
Oh, absolutely.
Excellent. So a couple of sponsors. So first off, Prototype Prime, which is we're using the studio here, the podcast studio at the incubator here in the city of Peachtree Corners, which is part of the Curiosity Lab at Peachtree Corners now.
It is. Curiosity Lab is really three things. It's a 1.5 mile intelligent mobility and smart city laboratory, which has an autonomous vehicle test track. It's a 25,000 square foot technology incubator.
Right.
And it's all the technology within both the building and the 1.5 mile for you to test anything from drones to, autonomous, vehicles to on the, to smart city connected vehicle. Anything you can think of.
So this place has grown since I've been doing this podcast. This is unbelievable growth over the next few months that you're never going to be seeing. Companies coming in from all over, not only the metro area, but the country and the world. We're going to be on the map.
Yeah.
Peachtree Corners will be known, hopefully, as well as Atlanta in some ways. So Prototype Prime, Curiosity Lab, sponsor of the podcast. And also I want to thank a new sponsor that's coming on, Gwinnett Medical Center. They're now going to be entering Peachtree Corners. You can learn more about their premier services. They're going to be conveniently located where the old Eppolito's restaurant used to be. People know where that is. That's the shopping center south of the QT on that side of the road on Peachtree Parkway. So they're entering. They're going to be having first-rate primary care services and specialty services. You can find out more about that at gwinnettmedicalcenter.org/PTC. So that out of the way, there's just a lot to talk about.
Sure, there is.
And in fact, the third sponsor, we're a media sponsor, Peachtree Corners Magazine of SmartCityExpo Atlanta. So let's start off with that, because
sure,
that's a huge thing.
It is.
You were in Barcelona last year. This is the first expo on the North American continent for this.
So the SmartCityExpo World Congress is the largest smart city conference in the world. And annually it's in Barcelona, and it has 40,000 attendees. Right. And it got so big that they decided to create regional kind of affiliate or feeder ones.
Mm-hmm.
They have an Asian one and a European one and the North American one, which started this year because of the work that Metro Atlanta Chamber and others did. We are lucky enough to have the very first North American version here in Atlanta.
Right.
And then, given that it was here, we were able to kind of brief the powers that be about what Curiosity Lab is. And they were like, wow, we're doing a smart city conference and you have this living laboratory for smart city testing and demonstration. Let's make it an official demonstration site. So we're also a partner of SmartCityExpo, and we're going to be a demonstration site the morning of the day the conference begins, which is September 11th.
Right. Three-day weekend, 3-day conference, and it's the first of 3 years that they're going to do this, actually. So, and the whole idea, I think, is to be able to not only show off smart city, IoT, Internet of Everything, Internet talking to everything, but it's also to bring it down to a more usable level for the common man, if you will, and woman, and how sustainability, smart technology, how it affects everyone,
All right.
right? Not just corporations.
No, I mean, we're at the cusp of really the way we do, almost anything changing because of the ability to have, to create that Internet of Things, which is everything being able to communicate with everything else.
Right.
And we're, especially with 5G rolling out, we now have a wireless environment where it can happen. And so it won't be long until literally you could be walking down the street and your phone's talking to the cars driving by, talking to the phones of other pedestrians,
right.
talking to the buildings, talking to the light pole. I mean, it's both a amazing and sometimes scary environment we're getting ready to live.
And it's kind of interesting because if you go into the basic, let's say, warehouse, for example, where the sustainable part of what they're doing is as you walk the warehouse floors in a warehouse that could be a mile long, the lights come on as you walk through it. Heat and other sensitivity things come on as there's a human person within that area occupying it. I mean, these are all things that can happen in a 5G environment even.
They can. I mean, you literally can control everything wirelessly and not have, latency issues where it's, lag time on the controls. You can have so much more on the wireless environment. We're used to 4G or even, your conventional 4G LTE where you can put so much on it that it starts to, get, have a little bit of lag, get slow, and 5G, we just aren't, we have so much more to work with. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah. So now because we're a demo site, the expo is September.
Yep.
We're not that far from where
48 and a wake up.
Yeah, really 48 days.
Who's counting?
How far are you going to be? Is it going to be like complete, almost like past City Hall? I mean, I know the whole stretch won't be complete, most likely.
Right. With every aspect of the lab on this 1.5 mile section, for every single thing to be done by then, probably not. So what we've done is all the work we're doing, we've had them do it in a linear fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, if some contractor was putting something in, the entire project site, they get to choose what order they do. And
right.
So in this case, we're like, no, we need you to start at the Technology Parkway 141 intersection
Mm-hmm.
where the Marriott is, and then work north. And at a minimum, we've got to get it past City Hall because that'll be the main stretch for the SmartCityExpo that people will both be coming to the demonstration site and where the demonstrations will take place. So that's the stretch that we're concentrating on right now. And
so there'll be shuttle buses coming from the expo with people attending the demo.
We're going to facilitate two things. For those conference attendees that sign up to do this, we will have buses available to bring them up from the Georgia World Congress Center.
Okay.
But for attendees who live close by,
Mm-hmm.
they won't have to go all the way down and come
Right.
back. They can just go right to the site.
What are you planning with demonstrations? Anything particular yet, or?
Yes. So I don't want to share the companies yet, but I can share what type of stuff. So we're going to have everything from fully level 5 autonomous vehicles,
Driving the track
or a portion of the track,
Okay.
teleoperation of vehicles. We're going to have drone, and these are autonomous. These are not like, done by a human. Drone showing off capabilities of package and food delivery, some of those kind of things. Also, other, package delivery robot components. Let's see, what else have we got? We've got some connected vehicle demonstrations to show how vehicles talking to each other can actually alter the way that the car drives itself, even with a human in it. So. We're wanting these companies that come in, and again, we're kind of inviting anybody who, we got a couple, like there's one company, we're not sure we can get them, but they actually have a vehicle that it's kind of like the smart car, that really small.
Right.
Their vehicle contracts or expands for purposes of urban use.
Mhm.
So when you're driving it, when you get in it, it expands so that the wheelbase and everything is stable. But when you go to park it, you can actually expand so that you can park it
into the parking spot?
you can park it in the same size space that you could put a Harley Davidson.
Really?
But it's a
All
car.
by itself. So you get out and it
Mhm.
shrinks itself and just, it's like the Jetsons.
Yes, I mean, so that one we'd like to have. I mean, so those are some of the things that we're going to have at this demonstration, and so it ought to be interesting.
Excellent. Wow, lots of stuff. There's a lot of things happening here in the city too, so we should probably talk about, besides the autonomous vehicle track. So I know we had a city council meeting this past
We did.
Tuesday. The mayor also had a state of the city.
Yep.
On Tuesday night, I think it was. Right?
Monday night,
Monday.
Tuesday night was the city council.
That's right, Monday night. So there was a lot of things actually that Mike Mason talked about. Mayor Mason.
72 slides worth.
But he went through it fast, I gotta say.
Oh, I mean, look, we've learned, we being staff have learned where the mayor's, real, his real strength is. And he is phenomenal when, you put him in that environment and he's talking with, not
Right.
to,
Right.
the citizens of the city. And so, yes, he knows how to, because we all warned him, this is a lot of slides.
Yeah.
But he went through it quick. I mean, he got it done in an hour.
Yeah.
And it was good. But he's amazing how he can interact and just make everybody feel like they're part of the discussion.
You could see, I mean, he's not a politician per se. I mean, he came from the corporate environment also, so you could see how that works. And there was a lot of things he talked about. He talked about the infrastructure improvements, over $20 million spent since 2015, about the town center, about the pedestrian bridge coming online soon, that would probably within a month or so, we might even see groundbreaking.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's underway.
Oh, okay. So we're going to see, and I saw and I wish I had the slide on this. I saw the picture of the newest picture, what it will look like, and it looks fairly good, actually.
Let's say that, you were a part of all of it to
Yes,
begin with, so
yes.
you may be better positioned than me to comment, but our hope was we went from the initial versions,
It's the double spires.
right, and to one that is maybe it's more modest, but it's not it still has a distinctiveness that
Yes.
you won't be like, oh, yawn, another pedestrian bridge. It's
No,
got a
it does.
distinctiveness, but it's not over the top.
No, and it looks really good though, from what I saw on it. And then I saw something else somewhere about the botanical gardens. How there might be an offshoot walk through
There will.
a bridge.
Yes, so
and
when you
stairs.
go in, on the south side of Lazy Dog,
Right.
you've got the creek.
Right.
And so we will have a path that goes along the creek, but elevated, kind of in between the creek and Lazy Dog or the parking deck.
Right.
So it'll have to be elevated. And then we're wanting to put a section that allows you to go down to
Right.
that level, and then maybe put some other, plant material in there, make it a
That looks
unique
nice.
little,
I
section.
mean, if you wanted to get into a cool place on a hot day,
Yep.
that'd be the perfect place to go. So you have that, I saw, and of course the mayor also talked about Georgia Tech professional education, the classrooms on site. And when we came just before, I saw the kids walking. They must be walking to the.
Well, that's the coding for kids. So that's
Right.
not Georgia. Yeah, Georgia
Well,
Techs are in
true,
the evening or on the weekend.
Yeah.
This one is a summer camp. So
Yes.
we actually have coding for kids camps that have been conducted
Same-
here
same
over the
place.
summer.
Yeah, which is cool. So you have the young kids, the high school, middle school kids
Yep.
doing it, and then you have the professionals that are coming back to learn a bit more.
Well, yeah, I mean, they are officially coders when they're done with
Yeah,
that, with a
yeah.
Georgia Tech, diploma.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And there's only two. I didn't realize there's actually three Georgia Tech.
Well, that's
civil
all
places.
professional education. So Georgia Tech only teaches professional education in 3 locations at all. Their main campus.
Right.
Then they have their Savannah
Right.
campus. And
you
then
have-
here.
yeah, it's amazing. I mean, Georgia Tech. Everyone knows Georgia Tech. I mean,
Yes,
just-
they do.
The other thing that the mayor talked about, and we feature in the upcoming Peachtree Corners magazine, is the Anderby Brewing that just opened, or will be opening actually.
Yeah,
They're
tomorrow
doing-
night is their
Tomorrow night.
grand opening. Their little grand opening.
Gotta go. This is a great craft
That's right. It's a craft brewery.
Yeah, first one in Peachtree Corners. I mean, brewing their own stuff.
Right on the end of Curiosity
We
Lab.
just passed it coming in. This is great.
Uh-huh.
Great stuff. I mean, that's just, yeah. The funny part was the mayor. So we know it's near the high school, but, it's far enough away that it's okay.
We've had a few people bring that up, but yeah, they're all that stuff's set by state law in some
Right.
cases and locally, and it
Right.
meets all the
It's been
business
measured out,
requirements,
yeah,
right?
So it's fine. So there was that. That the amongst all the things that the mayor talked about, but then we had the city council meeting Tuesday night. So I just want to go through a couple of things. I know Lazy Dog is going to be opening soon. They just applied for their
Liquor license, yeah.
Liquor license. So I'm assuming that got passed.
It did.
Approved. Right. The other thing is that there's, and I don't know what this is, the MRPA. I should know what that is.
Metropolitan River Protection Act.
Okay. That was for the 55 plus.
Fiserv property.
The old Fiserv. So they got approved, or was that
It did.
public hearing?
Well,
And
and action items, so they got approved.
So what does that mean to them? Because people have been asking, when is that breaking down?
Right.
Where's that going?
So, this is 100+ acres of development in the Chattahoochee River corridor.
Right.
So it's a very complicated site, both from an environmental standpoint, as well as because of its sheer size. There's a lot of, back of house negotiations that the master developer has to do with lining up the team that's going to develop it, because this is a mix of uses.
Right.
So you've got different contractors that specialize in different type of housing. They've got to line those up. They've got to line up financing. They got to come up with the timing,
Right.
Because they could go as high as, I think it's 916 total units on the.
Yes.
And let's just say that they did that, and they may not, but you don't, at something that big, you don't build 916 units just right. You tend to do it in phases, and you got to master plan it out. And so there's been a lot of work behind the scenes, but the first thing they have to do is they have to get a certificate allowing them to develop within the protected river corridor that's the Chattahoochee River. And so that's what this was.
Okay.
The city and Atlanta Regional Commission, ARC, together we regulate state law, which is the Metropolitan River Protection Act. And this was us approving the fact that they've met the requirements when it comes to things like how many trees that they want to remove, or how close to the river they can add impervious surface.
Because there's going to be different size buildings. From what I understand, at least maybe a 4 or 5 story building towards the river, because that's lower.
That's correct. I think they can go as high as 6 stories at the other end, that where no one other than like Country Club of the South residents could see it, which is across the river. But
it'll be overseeing the river, which
it
is
will.
a great view.
It
for,
is.
I mean, no matter how you look at that, living in a place like that is a great view. And that's.
I think they recognize that. I mean, look, when you're 20 miles from downtown, show me another location where you can go on the property and literally be outside of the view of anything else like you can on that property. I mean, you get in off of East Jones Bridge and you wouldn't even know that you're not in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. I mean, it's a huge.
Along the river.
Right.
And so I think they recognize that it's a unique place to build residential. And so you're right. They're going to build everything from 2-story detached residential to stack flats to townhomes to condos to multi-story,
And the way they're doing it is, I think it's supposed to be 55 and older. And as you get older, there's memory centers.
There is.
Supposedly will come on like 3 years into the development and stuff like that.
Yep. So it's moving. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's just that, sometimes people, after you have a lot of talk and public hearings for them to get their first special use permit, they think that as soon as it's approved, they're going to go. That was merely for the developer to know that they can do it.
Right.
And they have a lot of work behind the scenes
Because
to
it's
do
the
it.
same thing with the apartment building and the boutique hotel on Town Center. I mean, that was approved over a year ago or longer, and they haven't done anything yet. Still
Well, they haven't done anything that we can point to.
Right.
But yes, there's lining up financing. There's deciding who's going to build it. There's the design of what is the building exactly going to look like. And
Right, which they still have to come back
Correct.
next year. I understand Mechanicsville, that area also is getting rezoned from M1, which is industrial office, to residential.
Yep.
What's going on there as far as...
Well, the request, so that was just the first reading, but that's a developer who wants to come in and build townhomes
in that area?
in that area.
Which is the oldest part of the city, I think, isn't it? Mechanicsville is fairly old.
It is. As a residential area, it is.
Right.
I mean, Pinckneyville and the term and,
Right.
is older as it relates to when it was referred to back in time.
Yeah.
I mean, the intersection of Spalding and Medlock Bridge,
Mm-hmm.
that's like a corner that has existed when the Pony Express came through.
Yes.
I mean, so
So when
there's
you
some
think-
older sections but as far as a currently existing residential community, Mechanicsville is our oldest.
So is that that's only it's converting about 20 acres.
It's converting 20 undeveloped acres, but were zoned for an industrial use.
So is that all empty land?
It is undeveloped, just
Totally
just
nothing.
wooded land.
Okay. So obviously no one's looking to do industrial there. There's no demand for it, but there is for townhomes.
I mean, there is a demand for it, actually. I mean, you get out there, go along Buford Highway.
Yeah.
Out in that area. I mean, you've got, there's Newell Recycling's got a big menu.
Right.
I mean, so there's demand, but sometimes the demand is one thing, but the political, interest in facilitating that is sometimes not. And these parcels are at the edge of this neighborhood, so I would imagine. I mean, they haven't voted on it yet, but normally cities look very favorably on somebody wanting to rezone from an intensive use like manufacturing,
Right.
industrial to a residential, because most people are like, okay.
I'm actually surprised that it was M1 to begin with, that it butts up to residential. That almost never happens that way.
It has probably happened because it was industrial to begin with, and then some
And then-
parcels got residential, right?
Amazing. The next thing was the consideration of ordinance for the city. Nuisances, urban camping. That's the phrase that caught my eye. So what's going on with that? Are we having urban campers? Issues?
Well, I mean, so urban camping is just a municipal way of talking about people, who are sleeping out in public spaces for various reasons. Probably, most of the time that's done by people who are homeless and they're, moving around. But yes, we have had some problems of late in the town green.
Oh, really? In that wooded area, likely, or?
Yeah, or just out on the town green itself. And so we've had, fortunately, there are instances where there are people who you could argue make a living out of moving from location to location and begging for money from those who are frequenting establishments there. And so now we've got a bunch of, retail and restaurant space and a location people are going to. And so you got the panhandling. And so they'll do that. And then they'll sleep there overnight. And so we needed to have something so that it's in violation. Doing so is in violation of local law because it is public property.
Yeah.
So somebody could say, I have a right to be here.
Right.
What we're saying is you do, but you can't camp there.
Okay.
And so
Like in Simpsonwood, because it's a park and that's a county park, I think they allow camping. Oh, no.
I'm not sure they do.
No.
I mean, just because it's, I'm not sure they do.
I know they let the
Or
scouts-
maybe it's,
they
yeah, but then
let the
that's
scouts
probably
into
under a
different-
special, a special event permit.
Right.
I wouldn't, Jones Bridge, I think, has done the same thing, but I think you apply and they give you a special
Use,
event permit for
right.
that particular thing to say, hey, we're going to be doing this.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just show up and do it. The county's
Right.
pretty good about controlling some of those things like that. All right, so there's that. There was also a resolution about the call for an election qualifying. I know those are things that have to be done on a regular basis.
I mean, so we all know that, our staggered terms are, every 2 years. And so this year, 4 of the 7 are up for reelection. And so when that's the case, we have to set certain dates and locations for our election within the guidelines that the state sets. And so that's what that was setting the qualifying period, setting the location where you would go to the polls, setting the election date.
So it's not going to be, so this election won't be part of the county.
That's correct. There will not be any county vote in November.
So normally,
unless they, decide to hold some special election for something, the county that is.
Right.
Otherwise, but if not, it will just be at City Hall.
Okay. Do you see that changing next year during the presidential election? Because I know there was a rule passed that allows cities now to approach the counties that include the same election day in the same space.
Well, so what you're referring to is the Gwinnett County Board of Elections had an actual prohibition of managing the election for a municipality within Gwinnett County, which I know absolutely for sure that no other metro Atlanta county is that way. I think that of the 159 counties, Gwinnett County Board was the only one that had that prohibition.
Really?
So you're referring to the fact that was removed. So now Gwinnett County Board of Elections could provide election services for a municipality for a fee.
Right, intergovernmental arrangements.
Right, it would have to. What hasn't happened since then is there has not been a negotiated, rate and all that stuff hammered out so that a city could say, "Yep, we want you to run ours." Okay. There's a lot of details in that because there's a lot of differences between if the county already had to open a precinct versus they didn't have to, but a city wants them to open one special. So if the county is already going to be holding an election anyway at a certain location, I think some cities are like, why can't we pay you based on whatever additional cost would be to just add a line or add a look to the ballot that they're already having to.
Right, because right now, essentially next year, for example, if nothing changes, most people know you go to vote for your local precinct, you go to vote for the presidency, Senate, Congress, whatever. And for me, that would be, let's say, Peachtree Corners Baptist Church is my precinct. But then I'd have to go to City Hall separately to vote for my city council people, which is really.
Well, it really
crazy,
came up last November when the city and Gwinnett County had a special referendum.
Right.
Actually, it was earlier this year. It wasn't last November.
Were you talking about the March Martyr thing?
No. The Sunday alcohol sales.
Right. Yes.
So they held a special referendum to change the start date. Was it back from 12 to 11?
I think so.
And we did too. We wanted to put it to our residents. So to go and vote for that, you had to go to your county polling precinct. And that was going to determine whether unincorporated Gwinnett County had that. And then you had to go to the city, to City Hall, to vote on whether the city could back that up.
Crazy, right? Two different places.
And that kind of is what's prompted this movement to say, wait a second, why is this prohibition in there? We're not saying that any city has to use Gwinnett County Board of Elections.
No, but it allows you to.
But if there's a fair price, to pay to have, Gwinnett County Board of Elections, couldn't that option be there? And that's where we're headed, but that has not been negotiated yet. So, in our case, November, and the Gwinnett County Board of Elections doesn't have an election this November to do, at least right now. So it'll just be City Hall and it'll just be municipal elections. So we have 4 positions.
Not bad.
Which actually, 4 positions are up. There may not be candidates.
Right.
In which case they would not be on the ballot.
Qualifying is going to be next.
It's middle August.
Middle August. Long way off, but if you're thinking about something, that's when to do it, I guess. Anything else new? I know that you had a chance to speak, but I don't know if there was anything else from your department, from the city manager that came out?
I didn't have any updates
Okay.
at that meeting, no.
Anything else that we should be aware of that's maybe coming up? Or
I mean, we're going to be talking shortly about the locations to put the video cameras that we budgeted for out.
Okay.
We've talked about
those
here
are the
soon.
security cameras,
Right.
And,
With a license plate reader
Right.
and video cameras that we'd like to make available to police department if we've got a crime that's been committed and they want to.
so that's all budgeted. Now it's just going to decide.
That's
where to put
budgeted,
it.
and we just got to decide which intersections that we're going to put it in. That's coming up.
I know that the mayor also talked about the acreage. Several different options for that almost 6 acres off town center.
Yeah, so if you go to the town green, 2 of the 4 sides, if you consider the green a square, even though it's a circle, but 2 of the 4 sides are developed.
Mhm.
Cinnabistro on one,
Right.
all the shops on another. Then the north side of it will have the townhomes
Mm-hmm.
that they're getting ready to go vertical with
So
some
that-
of them.
yeah.
But essentially the eastern side is currently undeveloped. The city owns it,
Right.
and we have wanted the town green to be activated and to watch kind of how it's playing out and take feedback from our citizens on what we could do on that 6 acres to be a value add to the
Mhm.
town green. And so that discussion will be happening over the next 3 to 6 months
Uh-huh.
as we, again, keep activating, because this Saturday night we've got the Journey
Right.
cover band.
Yeah, covered that.
So
The
we've
park.
got some, right. So we've got some, good events that have happened out there already, and some more to follow, and we're learning, and we're taking feedback, and, we've got some things that are, going to be here before,
So Alex Wright, City Councilman Alex Wright, actually pointed out a few things that people pointed out that you guys may be adjusting a little bit. Like, for example, the playground area, that you may be adding some more on-site playground equipment.
There will be. We just got to decide which type,
Right.
and of course how much.
And shelter from the heat.
Well, yeah. So
On some of that
correct.
stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
the slide. Well, that one's already done. I
Yeah.
mean, that one's going to be here soon. But yes, a shade structure over the side. I mean, but those are the kind of things. Feedback we're taking. Even how to manage the crowds. I mean, there's talk about we may need to rope off, an aisle or two to walk, across it, because when we had the Queen Nation,
Yeah.
it literally was just,
It was 6,000 people. That place was jammed. with
it was.
people.
I mean, it was great to see, but little things that we're learning, and our residents are telling us, hey, think about this, and so
Yeah.
we're going to continue to improve it.
I think there was some landscaping where they thought maybe a slight hill where there could be more seating, actually.
Yep, we're looking at that.
And then I think the mayor also discussed either that 6 acres could either be expanded into, we discussed it at one point, either part of the town green maybe becomes, or it might be a pavilion that might be able to handle 100 people as a party.
It could be a mix of uses. It could be on the ground floor. You could have maybe covered event space or more seating, and then higher up you could, have anything from commercial, performing arts center, more seating to overlook the green. I mean, the sky's the limit.
And I found that interesting. I think one of the options he pointed out was that one of the companies actually approached the city to say, what if we did like a 4-story building, and the 2 stories down below would be the art center, and the 2 stories above it would be office space.
Yep.
And I thought that would be a great way to actually help finance.
That's correct. And that's why we have and will entertain some sort of potential public-private partnership on that, because it takes what investment we make, and it
Maximizes
Yeah,
the
it does.
leverages.
just a force multiplier to let us do more
Yeah.
with less money coming out of our budget to go to
Yeah,
it.
that was
So,
exciting. That part I thought was a decent way of going, actually. Earthfield, the empty store right now, anything new on that?
well, actually, there is. I mean,
Yeah.
other than the owner has just contacted us recently to say that they think that they may have got a scenario to where they're, prepared to take over the lease from Earth Fair and have it go to another tenant. So it's about as far as I can.
Can't tell us.
No,
Big box, something.
it would occupy the whole thing.
It would.
It would.
That's
If this one plays out.
okay. Part of the entertainment district it is?
It is.
And would it be related to that maybe? Just curious.
Potentially.
I have to push.
I don't blame you. I mean, economic development is a tough one. It's, sometimes you get excited, but you have to be, cautiously optimistic because some of these things fall through.
Oh, for sure. We've, I've kept Brian long enough. I think he has a real important meeting to go to after this regarding Curiosity Lab at Peachtree Corners. So a great local, well, not a local, international company, really. And they have a local office, so he's heading out that way. So I want to say thank you to Brian for coming out, sharing his time with us. And also to say, look out for Peachtree Corners magazine. It's going to be hitting the post office Friday, which means you should be getting it in your mailboxes early next week. God willing, the post office delivers it on time, and it's not like 3 weeks late. But I look forward to a cover story on Titan Pictures, on the movie industry in and around Peachtree Corners, the Boy Scouts, the Gwinnett Swim local team won the Gwinnett Swim Championship, which is cool, and a lot of other stuff that we have packed in there. So that's coming out, and that's it. Thank you all. Appreciate it.